The metal corridors of Earth Defense Station Alpha 7 buzzed with activity as Lieutenant Sarah Chen made her way to the briefing room. Her polished boots clicked against the steel floor, drawing quick glances from passing crew members. Everyone knew who she was, Earth's ace pilot with 30 successful missions against the Drachnid Empire. The briefing room's automatic doors slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, Admiral Thompson stood next to something Sarah hadn't expected. A towering mantis-like alien with iridescent wings, folded neatly behind its back. The creature's compound eyes shifted colors in the room's bright light. "Lieutenant Chen," Admiral Thompson said, "meet Kethrix of the Vexeri Defense Force. Your new wing partner." Sarah's hand, halfway raised for a salute, froze. "Sir." The Admiral's expression remained stern. "The Vexeri are our newest allies against the Drachnids. High Command wants to show our commitment to this alliance. You'll be flying joint exercises with Kethrix for the next 3 months." Kethrix stepped forward, movements precise and calculated. Its front limbs performed what Sarah guessed was a Vexeri salute. "Lieutenant Chen, your combat records are impressive. The way you destroyed 3 Drachnid cruisers in the Battle of Mars shows great skill." Sarah noticed how Kethrix's voice had an odd musical quality, like wind chimes in a light breeze. The translator implant in her ear made the alien's clicks and chirps understandable, but couldn't hide the alien nature of the sound. "Thank you," Sarah replied carefully. "I look forward to learning Vexeri combat techniques." The words felt stiff in her mouth. She had nothing against aliens. Humanity had met plenty since first contact. But flying was different. A pilot's partner needed to be someone you could trust completely. Admiral Thompson handed them both data tablets. "You'll start tomorrow at 600 hours. Standard patrol route along the Jupiter defense line. Kethrix will fly their own ship, a Vexeri strike fighter. Lieutenant Chen, you'll be in your usual Thunderbolt." Sarah scrolled through the mission briefing, her heart sinking. The Jupiter defense line was no simple patrol route. It was the front line against Drachnid raids. If they ran into trouble, she'd have to rely on an alien she just met. "Questions?" the Admiral asked. Both pilots shook their heads. "Dismissed." As Sarah left the briefing room, she heard Kethrix's light footsteps behind her. The alien's voice came again. "Lieutenant, perhaps we could discuss flight formations over a meal. I am curious about human tactical preferences." Sarah turned, studying her new partner. Kethrix's head was tilted slightly, compound eyes shifting to a gentle blue color. Was that a sign of friendliness in Vexeri body language? She didn't know. "Sure," she found herself saying. "The station's mess hall serves both human and Vexeri food. We can meet there in an hour." As Kethrix moved away, Sarah watched those iridescent wings shimmer. Tomorrow, she'd be flying combat patterns with their owner. Like it or not, Earth's best pilot was now partnered with a giant space mantis. She only hoped they'd survive their first patrol together. The simulation pod's warning lights flashed red again as Sarah's virtual Thunderbolt fighter exploded. She yanked off her neural interface helmet in frustration. Through the pod's clear canopy, she could see Kethrix emerging from the adjacent simulator, movements deliberate and calm. "Your turn rate was 2.3 seconds slower than optimal," Kethrix stated, mandibles clicking. "Had you initiated the barrel roll at my calculated timestamp, the enemy missiles would have missed." Sarah ran a hand through her short black hair. "Sometimes you have to trust your gut, Kethrix. Not everything in combat comes down to numbers. Instinct versus calculation." Kethrix's antennae twitched. "This debate has occurred in 67% of our training sessions." Their 4th week of joint exercises wasn't going well. Every simulation ended the same way. Either Sarah moved too early for Kethrix's carefully planned formations, or Kethrix's precise timing threw off Sarah's natural flow. Their test scores were the worst in the program's history. Later, in the station's observation deck, Sarah watched Jupiter's great red spot swirl below. Kethrix approached, carrying 2 drinks, coffee for Sarah and something that glowed green for itself. I have been studying human interpersonal dynamics, Frick said, placing the coffee beside her. You release stress hormones during our training. This indicates emotional discomfort. Sarah almost laughed. Trust a Vexari to analyze emotions like scientific data. Where I'm from, we just call that being frustrated. Ah. Cathrix's eyes shifted to a curious purple. And how do humans typically resolve such frustration between partners? Usually by talking it out. Sarah sipped her coffee. Or in my family's case, cooking together. My mom always said you can't stay mad at someone while making dumplings with them. Cathrix's antennae perked up. Fascinating. Vexari share chemical signals when forming bonds. The exchange of pheromones allows direct emotional understanding. The alien hesitated. Perhaps our difficulties stem from my inability to sense your chemical signals properly. Sarah turned to study her partner. You mean you've been flying blind? Emotionally speaking. Correct. Vexari pilots normally coordinate through pheromone signals as well as radio communication. I have been handicapped in our partnership. For the first time, Sarah saw uncertainty in those compound eyes. Here was an alien trying to fly without one of its most basic senses, yet still determined to make their partnership work. Tell you what, Sarah said. Tomorrow we try something new. No calculations, no gut feelings. We learn to fly together, find our own way. Deal. Thrix's wings rustled softly. Deal. Though I admit, I still wish to understand this dumpling-making ritual of your family. Sarah laughed, a genuine smile breaking through for the first time in weeks. Tell you what, you teach me about Vexari pheromone signals. I'll teach you how to make pot stickers. As they watched Jupiter spin below, something shifted between them. Sometimes understanding started with admitting what you didn't understand. The patrol along Jupiter's defense line was supposed to be routine. Sarah's Thunderbolt fighter glided smoothly through space, with Cathrix's Vexari strike fighter maintaining perfect formation off her wing. After 6 weeks of practice, they'd finally found their rhythm. Sensor sweep complete, Cathrix reported. All sectors clear. Sarah checked her own readings. Confirmed. One more loop, and we can head. Multiple red dots suddenly blazed across her radar screen. Contact. Drachnid signatures, bearing 045. Analysis indicates 12 fighters and 2 cruisers. Cathrix's calm voice came through the comm. They were using the moon Europa's magnetic field to mask their approach. Sarah's hands tightened on her controls. Command, this is Lieutenant Chen. We have a Drachnid battle group in Sector 7. Requesting backup. Static answered her call. They're jamming communications, Cathrix said. Probability of survival if we retreat, 32%. Probability of survival if we engage, 28%. Sarah watched the enemy fighters approach. What if we do something they won't expect? Cathrix's compound eyes flashed with understanding. You wish to employ human instinct, combined with Vexari precision. Sarah grinned. Remember that crazy move we practiced last week? The one with a 17% success rate in simulations. Yes. Want to try it with real stakes? Thrix's wings shimmered. Lead the way, partner. Sarah pushed her throttle forward. Instead of retreating, they charged straight at the Drachnid formation. The enemy fighters scattered, surprised by their aggression. What followed was a dance of instinct and calculation. Sarah would dive into impossible positions, drawing enemy fire, while Cathrix predicted their reactions with mathematical precision. When Sarah rolled left, Cathrix was already firing right, catching Drachnid ships in perfect crossfire. 3 hostiles on your 6. Sarah called out. Executing evasive pattern Delta 7 in 4.2 seconds, Cathrix responded. Suggest you loop above Europa's atmosphere in 3.8 seconds. Their movements flowed together like water. Where Sarah zigged, Cathrix zagged. Every human impulse was matched by alien precision. Enemy ships exploded one by one. The battle lasted 12 minutes. When Earth reinforcements finally arrived, They found 2 damaged but triumphant fighters surrounded by Drachnid debris. Admiral Thompson's voice crackled through their restored comms. Lieutenant Chen, Kethrix, report status. All hostiles eliminated, sir, Sarah replied, breathing hard. Just another quiet patrol with my wing partner. She could have sworn she heard Kethrix make a chirping sound that the translator didn't catch, something that sounded suspiciously like a laugh. Partner, Kethrix repeated softly. Yes, I believe that term is now statistically accurate. Sarah found Kethrix in the station's library, surrounded by holographic displays showing scenes from various human movies. The Vexari's antennae twitched with interest as couples danced, kissed, and proclaimed their love across the screens. Studying human entertainment again, Sarah asked, sliding into a nearby chair, attempting to understand human pair bonding rituals. Thrix replied, compound eyes shifting through rainbow patterns. Your species has complex courtship behaviors. Sarah watched a romantic scene play out. That's one way to put it. Any particular reason for the research? Thrix's wings rustled nervously. I have been consulting with Vexari elders about our partnership. Oh, Sarah raised an eyebrow. Something wrong. Not wrong. Different. Thrix turned off the displays. In Vexari culture, the strongest bonds are formed in combat. When 2 warriors fight as one, sharing danger and victory, it creates a connection deeper than what humans call friendship. Sarah remembered their battle against the Drachnids, how perfectly they'd moved together. Like battle brothers. More. Kethrix's voice became softer. In my culture, such combat synchronization is equivalent to what humans call marriage proposals. Sarah's coffee cup froze halfway to her mouth. Wait, are you saying? Our battle against the Drachnids, by Vexari standards, was a formal declaration of intent to bond. Kethrix's antennae drooped. I should have explained sooner, but I feared it would make you uncomfortable. Sarah set down her cup, mind racing. She thought about their weeks together, the training, the shared meals, the late-night conversations about their different worlds. How flying with Kethrix felt more natural now than flying alone. So, Sarah said slowly, in Vexari terms, we're engaged. The closest human translation, yes. Kethrix's wings pulled tight against its back. I understand if you wish to request a different partner. Did you know, Sarah interrupted, that in old Earth cultures, arranged marriages were common. People would be paired up without knowing each other, then learn to love each other over time. Kethrix's eyes shifted to a hopeful blue, and this practice was successful. Sometimes, Sarah smiled. My grandparents had an arranged marriage. They were together 50 years. You are not disturbed by this cultural overlap. Sarah reached out, carefully touching one of Kethrix's folded wings. Let's just say I'm open to new possibilities, though we might want to break this news to command gently. For the first time, she saw Kethrix's mandibles curve in what could only be a smile. The diplomatic incident started during a routine briefing. Admiral Thompson was discussing squad rotations when a Vexari elder appeared on the main screen, mandibles clicking in agitation. We demand an explanation, the elder announced, for why Earth's military is ignoring the sacred bond between Lieutenant Chen and Kethrix. The briefing room fell silent. Sarah felt every human eye turn toward her and Kethrix, who stood perfectly still beside her chair. Sacred bond. Admiral Thompson's face reddened. What sacred bond? Their combat mating ritual was witnessed by many, the elder declared. The battle against the Drachnid fleet was a perfect execution of the Vexari bonding dance, yet they remain in separate quarters, their union uncelebrated. Sarah watched the Admiral's expression shift from confusion to shock. Lieutenant Chen, would you care to explain? Sir, Sarah stepped forward. Kethrix recently informed me that our combat synchronization is significant in Vexari culture, similar to a marriage proposal. Murmurs rippled through the human officers. Kethrix's wings rustled nervously. And you didn't think to report this development? Thompson asked. We were still discussing cultural implications, sir. A new voice cut through the tension. May I speak? Sarah's grandmother, visiting the station for her granddaughter's birthday, stepped into view of the communication screen. Mrs. Chen. The Admiral blinked. Elder, Sarah's grandmother addressed the Vexari directly. I understand your concern. In my youth in China, marriages were often arranged between strangers who learned to love through shared experience. Is this not similar to your combat bonds? The elder's antennae perked up. Yes. The growing of love through shared challenge. You understand. Then perhaps, Grandmother Chen smiled, instead of diplomatic incident, we should discuss wedding preparations. Sarah felt Kethrix's claw gently touch her hand. She didn't pull away. The elder's eyes shifted to pleased gold. Your wisdom honors us, Elder Chen. We shall begin arrangements immediately. Admiral Thompson rubbed his temples. I need a drink. Lieutenant, Kethrix. Congratulations, I suppose. Dismissed. And please, no more surprise cultural revelations. As they left the briefing room, Sarah heard her grandmother chatting happily with the Vexari elder about proper ceremonial colors. Your grandmother, Kethrix said softly, has great wisdom. Sarah squeezed the alien claw holding hers. She also makes amazing dumplings. Think you're ready to be part of a Chinese family. Kethrix's eyes sparkled with all the colors of Jupiter's storms. I look forward to learning. The emergency alert blared through Station Alpha 7 at midnight. Sarah and Kethrix reached the command center together, still adjusting their flight suits. Drachnid fleet incoming, Admiral Thompson announced grimly. Biggest attack force we've seen. They've deployed a new weapon, a minefield that shreds our ship shields. The tactical display showed hundreds of tiny red dots spreading between Jupiter's moons, intelligent mines that could track and follow ships. No vessel has made it through their field. Thompson continued. We need to disable their control ship, but it's behind that maze of mines. Our best pilots have tried. None survived. Sarah felt Kethrix's wing brush against her shoulder. They shared a look. Sir, Sarah stepped forward. Request permission to attempt the run. Both of us, Kethrix added. Our neural patterns are synchronized now. We can anticipate each other's movements. Thompson studied them. This isn't just another patrol. These mines, they're unlike anything we've seen. With respect, sir, Sarah replied. Kethrix can calculate the mine trajectories, while I handle evasive maneuvers. We're the only team that combines both skills. Kethrix's antennae twitched. Probability of success, 31%. Better odds than my grandparents had in their arranged marriage, Sarah grinned. Thompson sighed. Launch in 5 minutes. And good luck. In space, the minefield glittered like deadly stars. Sarah's thunderbolt and Kethrix's strike fighter moved in perfect sync, weaving between the explosive spheres. Pattern shift detected, Kethrix reported. Mines adjusting course in 3 seconds. Sarah didn't reply. She was already rolling her ship, Kethrix mirroring her movement exactly. The mines streaked past them, missing by inches. They danced through space, human instinct and Vexari precision, creating a path where none existed. When Sarah dove, Kethrix was already rising to cover her. When Kethrix calculated a safe route, Sarah was already halfway through it. Finally, the control ship appeared ahead. Time to make this marriage official, Sarah called out. Their combined attack hit the Drachnid vessel from 2 angles simultaneously. As it exploded, the mines went dark, drifting harmlessly in space. Later, in the celebration, Admiral Thompson found them. That was either the craziest or most brilliant flying I've ever seen. Perhaps both, Kethrix suggested, eyes glowing with pride. Perhaps, Thompson agreed. Now, about this wedding. Station Alpha 7's main hangar had been transformed. Red Chinese lanterns hung beside glowing Vexari crystal formations. Human and alien guests filled the space, watching as Sarah Chen walked down an aisle made of scattered starship parts, a traditional Vexeri symbol of paths joining. Sarah wore her dress uniform, modified with iridescent fabric that matched Kethrix's wings. Kethrix stood at the end of the aisle, compound eyes shifting through happy colors, mandibles decorated with small red ribbons chosen by Sarah's grandmother. Admiral Thompson stood between them, looking slightly bewildered at being asked to officiate this unprecedented ceremony. Behind him, a screen showed the Vexeri elder who had started it all. "We are gathered here," Thompson began, "to celebrate a union that proves love transcends species, cultures, and even the vast distances of space." Sarah's grandmother dabbed at her eyes with a handkerchief as Kethrix extended a claw. Sarah took it, feeling the familiar smoothness of her partner's exoskeleton. In accordance with Vexari tradition, the elder announced, "These warriors have proven their bond in combat. Their souls dance as one among the stars." And in human tradition, Thompson added, "They have chosen to share their lives, supporting each other through peace and war, joy and hardship." Kethrix's antennae reached out to gently touch Sarah's cheek, a Vexeri gesture of deepest affection. Sarah responded by tying a red silk ribbon around Kethrix's claw, a Chinese symbol of unbreakable connection. "By the power vested in me by Earth Defense Command," Thompson declared, "and by the authority of the Vexeri High Council, I now pronounce you married under all known laws of both our species." The hangar erupted in cheers. Humans clapped while Vexeri rubbed their wings together, creating a harmonious humming sound. 5 years later, Sarah and Kethrix stood in that same hangar, watching a new class of pilots graduate. Human and Vexeri trainees stood together, their combined skills making them the most effective fighter pilots in Earth's Defense Force. "Remember our first flight together?" Sarah asked, now wearing commander's stripes. Probability of success seemed low, Kethrix replied, wings brushing Sarah's shoulder affectionately. "Yet here we are." Sarah watched a young human pilot help adjust her Vexeri partner's flight suit. "Here we all are." Their unlikely marriage had opened a door. Now, throughout the galaxy, humans and Vexari worked together, fought together, lived together, proving that love could bloom even in the coldest reaches of space. And somewhere, Sarah's grandmother was teaching a group of young Vexari how to make the perfect dumpling.